Hi everyone, it's Athena here from Courage Coaching. The reason I haven't made videos on YouTube for quite some time is because I lost my dad in June this year, and since that day my life has been very complicated to say the least. Due to the COVID pandemic, I sadly was not able to attend my father's funeral, as I was living in Britain at the time. My father was in Greece. Missing a parent's funeral, I have to say, was extremely difficult because I guess I didn't really have a way of saying goodbye, of having closure. The whole experience felt very surreal for me, and not being able to take part in the arrangements of the funeral, not being able to be there with my brother and my family was very difficult. So I wanted to talk about the death of a narcissistic parent in this video, which is obviously inspired by my own experience in the last 5 to 6 months. What is the aftermath? What is it that you will deal with when you lose a narcissistic parent? So a lot of this depends on the relationship that you had before they died. If your parent had full-blown narcissism, then you will find it even harder to grieve. The grief that you will be feeling since the day they died will be very complicated. Now, let's think about your relationship with a narcissist before their death. You will know what it's like. You will know how hard it is to be in a relationship that is mostly one-sided and that is mostly controlled by the narcissist. A narcissist isn't able to unconditionally love their children, and they aren't able to be self-reflective. They aren't able to apologize for mistakes they have made or for things that they may have done to hurt you. And you will always have been waiting around, waiting for things to change, waiting for the narcissistic parent to apologize, waiting for them to treat you in a better way, praying and hoping that one day this parent will be the parent that you wished that you had. Sadly, this is something that doesn't usually happen. One thing that's worth pointing out is that people's personalities do tend to intensify the older they get. So if you are somebody that's quite stubborn, you will become a hell of a lot more stubborn when you're elderly. Therefore, a narcissist will also worsen with age, and all the things that they did when they were younger will be a hell of a lot worse when they are older, because they can no longer hide behind their mask of being beautiful or powerful. When they are older and they are frailer, these things will no longer keep them in the spotlight. So they will get worse. They will treat you in a worse way. They will not make good decisions. So generally, when we think about a relationship with a narcissistic parent, there is always a certain amount of grief attached to that parent when they are still alive. And that grief has got a lot to do with the fact that they constantly disappoint their children. They constantly let their children down because they aren't able to love them unconditionally. They aren't able to give their children what they need. And if you as an adult child have not done any grief work while your narcissistic parent was still alive, so if you haven't been in therapy, if you haven't grieved the childhood you didn't have, if you haven't grieved the parent that you wished you'd had, then the grief that you will feel when they die will be a hell of a lot more intense, a hell of a lot more complicated. So a complicated relationship with a parent when they are alive means that you will have a complicated grieving process. So if you've had a lifetime of disappointments already with your narcissistic parent, the likelihood of your disappointments continuing after their death is very high. Their death does not equate the end of your troubles, at least not at the beginning. You will continue to struggle with the legacy of a narcissistic relationship long after that parent has passed away. Narcissistic parents usually will still try to control their narrative even after their death. There will most likely be logistical messes, estate and probate issues. There will most likely be more chaos and drama. They may even triangulate their family from their grave. by unfairly distributing the inheritance, and by at times completely leaving their children out of the inheritance as a way of hurting them. The will and testament of a narcissistic parent will be the last time the narcissist shows everybody who's boss. They will most likely leave a huge mess that needs sorting out. So all these things can create very intense, overwhelming emotions for the adult child. And one of the most difficult issues is that they may actually feel emotions such as relief, confusion, and maybe even at times resentment. They may feel resentful towards their parent, although they have died. And they may be surrounded by other family and friends who keep talking about the narcissistic parent as if they were the best parent ever or the best person ever, because that was the outward image that they showed the world, the rest of the world. Whereas you, the child, have not seen this to the extent that everybody else has seen it. You have seen the nasty side of the parent, of the person. You have had the abuse, you have had the control, you have had the neglect, you have had the chaos and the drama, and you have been constantly mixed up in it. Unless, of course, you went no contact with your parent before their death, well, that's a whole other different issue. You may have not visited your parent at all for maybe 3 or 4 years, and then they passed, and then you didn't even go to the funeral, and all of that may have been a little bit less complicated because you already grieved the parent before their death. You already cut ties with them and accepted that they were never going to change. Acceptance is key with a narcissistic parent. If you have accepted early on that they were never going to change, and you made peace with that and you grieved, then your grief after their death will not be as difficult. It will not be as complicated. I would say that it is very important to have some sort of support when a narcissistic parent dies. Grief therapy can be very, very helpful. Grief support groups or other support groups for adult children of narcissistic parents. So that is what I wanted to talk about today. I just wanted to say that I will be making videos more often again. I just needed a lot of time to sort of process everything that had gone on. If you have also just recently lost a narcissistic parent or would like to share your experience with the loss of a narcissistic parent, then please feel free to leave a comment below the video. And don't forget to be kind to others who also want to share their experience. So that is the end of the video today, everyone. Thank you very, very much for watching and listening, and I will see you in my next video. Take care. Bye-bye.